They say the world is filled with sheep, weak, docile, predictable beings, sheep that move in flocks, blindly following the crowd. Their minds are controlled by the loudest voice, the most dominant figure. Their choices are not truly their own. Their lives are a sequence of programmed robotic actions dictated by fear and convenience. They don't even realize that they've never truly thought for themselves. They don't need to. They find comfort in their ignorance, merely existing, awaiting the next command. And then there's you. You are not one of them, not even close. The brilliance of being a wolf in sheep's clothing is that the sheep will never suspect you, they will never see it coming. They look at you and assume you are just like them, fragile, naive, harmless, easily influenced. They have no idea what lies beneath the surface. You have mastered their game so perfectly that they are convinced you are one of them, but you're not. You have spent years perfecting your disguise. You have watched them. You have studied their patterns, their flaws, their vulnerabilities. You know their every instinct, their every reaction, their every insecurity. You understand what makes them tick, and you know precisely how to blend in. You've walked among them, pretending to be the clueless follower, the one who never questions, who never challenges, who never stands apart. Yet deep down you've always known that it's all just an illusion, and you've been playing it better than they could ever comprehend. What makes the wolf truly formidable is not its power, not its hunger, nor even its strength. The real danger of the wolf lies in its mind, the way it waits, the way it observes, the way it calculates and strategizes. The wolf does not need to rush. The wolf does not need to seek validation. The wolf understands patience. And that is exactly why the sheep remain blind. They believe they are safe. They believe they have it all figured out. They think the world belongs to them because they adhere to the rules. They have been conditioned to think that as long as they obey, as long as they remain compliant, they will be secure, protected, untouchable. But they fail to see the truth. The rules were never designed for their survival. The rules are shackles. Shackles that keep them contained, shackles that bind them to mediocrity and complacency. But you were never one to follow the rules. You never have been. You have always known that the rules exist to keep the masses controlled, to prevent them from thinking for themselves, to stop them from questioning the reality they live in. Because the moment they begin to question, the moment they start to think independently, they become a threat to the system. That is why they do not want you to awaken. That is why they need you to remain a sheep. Because if you realize that you are the wolf, the entire game changes, the system collapses, the world they have built crumbles. You have known this all along. That is why you have played along. That is why you have concealed your true nature. But here's the secret. The more you stay hidden, the stronger you become. The more you let them underestimate you, the more you gain the upper hand. You maneuver, you adapt, you prepare for the moment when you finally cast aside the mask. And when that moment arrives, they will never see it coming, because they never suspected that the quiet, submissive figure they ignored for so long would be the one to shatter their illusions. The greatest weapon of all is patience. You do not need to make noise. You do not need to act recklessly. You do not need to argue or fight. No. The wolf understands that the most effective strike is the one delivered when the prey least expects it, when it is vulnerable, when it has let its guard down, when it is convinced of its own safety. That is when the wolf moves. It is almost amusing how the sheep take comfort in their routines. They move as a unit, obeying without question, following without doubt. They believe they have control over their lives, yet they never did. They have only ever been obeying someone else's directives, walking a path that was designed for them, a path that leads to nowhere. You do not need to force them to see the truth. You do not need to shout, to argue, to manipulate them directly. You already know the truth. You have always known. The key to power is knowing when to act, when to reveal, when to make your move. It is not merely about defying the rules. It is about rewriting them. It is about designing your own path. The sheep exist in a world where they believe they have no other option. They follow blindly, unaware of their own captivity. They do not even realize they are prisoners to a system they never question. But you have always known. The moment you step away from the herd, the moment you reject their imposed limits, the moment you start to think for yourself, that is the moment you seize control of your own destiny. That is the power of being a wolf in sheep's clothing. You do not need to be loud. You do not need to be aggressive. You do not need to be obvious. All you need to do is wait. Wait for the right moment. And when that moment comes, you strike. You reveal yourself. You show them exactly who you are. You show them your true power. But here's the catch. The moment you reveal yourself, it is already too late for them. By the time they understand who you are, by the time they realize what you have been doing, the game has already been decided. They are already at your mercy. They are already lost. You have already won. And when you win, it is not just about defeating them. It is about owning them. It is about standing above them, holding the power they never even realized existed. It is about making them understand that they were never in control, that they were nothing more than pieces in your game. That is the true beauty of being the wolf in sheep's clothing. You do not need to act out. You do not need to attract unnecessary attention. You do not need to lash out in anger. You do not need to fight with desperation. You simply need to wait. Wait for the perfect moment. Wait until they are convinced of their own invulnerability. And then, when they least expect it, you move, and they will never see it coming. By the time they realize, by the time they try to resist, it will already be far too late. And you will stand victorious, untouched, unscathed, because you played the game better than they ever could, because you understood the rules while they blindly obeyed them, because you saw their weaknesses and turned them into your advantage. And that, my friend, is the true essence of power. You have spent your life blending in, pretending, but deep down you have always known who you are. You have always known what you are capable of. And when the time comes to shed the disguise, to step forward as your true self, nothing will be able to stop you, because by then the game will already be won. And all that will remain will be the sheep, left in your wake, wondering how they never saw it coming. In the herd, you've seen how they operate, but you are not them. You are never meant to be. The moment you take control, the moment you stand tall as the wolf, something shifts. Something inside you snaps, and the world around you begins to bend to your will. What happens next is simple. You stop asking for permission. You stop needing validation. You stop pretending. You realize that the sheep will never understand your methods, your thinking, your genius. They'll never know why you do what you do or how you do it, and they don't need to. The beauty of being a wolf in sheep's clothing is the sheer unpredictability of your moves. You are an enigma to them. You are a riddle they'll never solve because, while they spend their time looking at the surface, you've been digging deeper. You've been playing a game they don't even know exists. And when it's time to strike, when it's time to pull the strings, they won't know what hit them. They'll blame themselves. They'll ask, how did we not see it? But the answer is simple. They didn't need to see it. They didn't need to know it. You were never meant to be seen. You were always meant to be the shadow in their minds, the flicker in their peripheral vision. And now, when you finally reveal yourself, it's too late. They can't run, they can't hide. The sheep are no match for the wolf. The mistake most people make is that they want instant gratification. They want to see results right away. They want power, control, and respect, but they're not willing to wait. They're too desperate to rush into things, too eager to prove their worth. But that's not the way of the wolf. The wolf knows that patience is power. The wolf knows that the longer they wait, the more powerful they become. The longer they stay in the shadows, the more the prey gets comfortable, the more the herd trusts them, and when the moment comes, the moment you've been waiting for, it'll be perfect. You'll see them staring at you in disbelief, their mouths agape, their eyes wide, their minds struggling to catch up. They'll have no idea what's happening, no understanding of the storm that's about to hit them. Because in their world, there's no room for wolves. In their world, wolves don't exist. And that's exactly why they'll never see you coming. But when you attack, it won't be with raw, uncontrolled violence. No. The wolf is not driven by mindless aggression. The wolf is driven by calculated precision. When you strike with purpose. You strike with intention, you make every move count. And the sheep will wonder, no, they'll demand answers, but you'll have none to give them. That's the power of the wolf. The wolf doesn't explain itself. The wolf doesn't seek permission. The wolf doesn't care whether the sheep understand. The wolf simply does. It acts. And it does so with such certainty that there's no room for doubt. But here's the catch. The true mastery of being a wolf in sheep's clothing is in what you do next. Because once the wolf reveals itself, it doesn't stay in the shadows. It doesn't retreat. It becomes the apex predator, ruling the herd without mercy. And in this world, the ones who are the most ruthless, the most strategic, are the ones who rise above the noise. You've already made the decision. You've already chosen to rise above. But the most profound part of being the wolf is not the destruction you leave behind. It's the creation that follows. You don't just tear things apart. You don't just revel in chaos for the sake of chaos. No, you destroy the system to build a new one. You wipe the slate clean so you can build something better, something more suited to your vision. You don't just take the crown. You don't just take the throne. You remake the entire empire. And in this new world, there's no place for the sheep. There's no place for those who follow. There's only room for the wolves, those who think for themselves, those who are willing to risk everything to take what's theirs, those who are willing to play the long game and wait for the perfect moment. They didn't know. They didn't know that you were a wolf in sheep's clothing. They didn't know that all along you were waiting, biding your time, and now that you've revealed yourself, now they'll never forget you. Because when you strike, it's not just the game that changes, it's the entire world. You've already rewritten the rules. You've already changed the landscape. The sheep will never see it coming, and the wolves will rule. So remember this, the world doesn't belong to the sheep. The world belongs to the wolves. And when you've learned to play the game like one, when you've learned to outsmart, outthink, and outlast the herd, you'll see just how powerful you can become. You'll be untouchable. The question is, are you ready to stop hiding? Are you ready to show them who you really are? Because when you do, the world will change forever, and the wolves will lead the way.